My name is Melissa Grant. I'm 34 years old. At 4:28 on a Thursday afternoon in June, my sister sent me a text message that said, "I think it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding." I was standing in the frozen food aisle at Kroger with a bag of peas in one hand, my work tote sliding off my shoulder, and a receipt from the bridal salon folded neatly inside my wallet. The receipt was for $8, $460. Her dress. The dress I had paid for. Not lent money toward. Not helped choose. Paid for. A silk A-line gown with hand-applied lace, pearl buttons down the back, and a cathedral train my sister had cried over in front of 3 mirrors, while our mother dabbed her eyes and said, "Oh, Emma, you look like a dream." Emma, my baby sister, 28 years old, beautiful, charming, dramatic, and forever allergic to the consequences of wanting more than she could afford. I stared at the text until the freezer door fogged around my reflection. I think it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding. Not, I'm sorry. Not, can we talk? Not, I know this is cruel after everything you've done. Just one clean little sentence, designed to make me disappear quietly. My phone buzzed again. It's not personal. Tyler's family is very traditional, and the seating is complicated. I don't want tension or awkward questions. Awkward questions. That was what she called me now. Not sister. Not maid of honor. Not the woman who had spent her lunch breaks calling vendors, negotiated the venue deposit, covered the florist retainer, paid the bridal salon before the gown order expired, and quietly kept the wedding from collapsing when our parents admitted they could not contribute the way Emma had already promised Tyler's wealthy family they would. Awkward questions. I placed the peas back in the freezer. My hands were suddenly very calm. That is how I know I am truly angry. Not loud. Not shaking. Calm enough to read every word like a contract. I typed, "Why?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then Emma wrote, "Tyler's mom feels like the bridal party should reflect the future we're stepping into. And, honestly, Mel, you've been stressed lately. I don't want your energy affecting the day, my energy. The energy that had written checks. The energy that had saved her from embarrassment. The energy that had sat beside her in the bridal salon while she whispered, 'Please don't let them know we can't afford it.'" I looked down at my shoes. Work flats, scuffed near the toes. Practical. Not bridal. Not wealthy. Not polished enough for Tyler Whitmore's family photographs. Tyler came from money that had opinions about silverware. His mother, Caroline Whitmore, had already referred to me once as Melissa, the sister who works in insurance, in a tone that made employment sound like a diagnosis. Emma wanted into that world so badly she had started trimming off parts of herself to fit. Apparently, I was one of the parts. I did not cry in the grocery store. I did not call her. I did not send screenshots of every payment I had made. I did not remind her that her future was currently standing on my credit card, my bank transfers, and my name on vendor contracts. I just opened the Notes app on my phone and counted 7 seconds. What they didn't know was that the venue deposit was under my name. The dress payment was under my name. The florist retainer was under my name. The photographer's second installment was scheduled for my account. And the bridal salon's alteration appointment required the original purchaser to authorize release of the gown, because Emma had insisted I pay directly, so Tyler's mother would not see a large balance on Emma's card. What Emma did not know was that I had kept every receipt, every email, every invoice, every text begging for help, and every promise that she would make it right after the honeymoon. And what Tyler's family truly did not know was that the sister they considered too awkward for their wedding had quietly financed the illusion they were praising. I stood in the frozen aisle, opened my banking app, and transferred $1 from checking to savings. Not because I needed to, because I wanted to watch something move only when I authorized it. Then I replied to my sister, "Understood." That one word ended more than my invitation. This is that story. Before I tell you how my sister learned that uninviting the person funding your dream wedding has vendor-level consequences, tell me where you are watching or listening from, and what time it is there. I always wonder who hears stories like this while remembering the moment someone treated their generosity like a ladder, then kicked them off once they reached the next floor. And if you connect with stories about women who were betrayed, underestimated, used, and quietly took their power back, like and subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. Some women do not crash weddings, some women cancel payments in their own name. I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, in a small white house with blue shutters, a gravel driveway, and a porch swing my father built one Saturday when he was supposed to be fixing the bathroom sink. My parents, Harold and Denise Grant, were good people in the way tired people often are good. They loved us. They worked hard. They made mistakes quietly and hoped no one asked for itemized explanations. Dad worked maintenance at a private school. Mom handled the front desk at a pediatric clinic. We had enough most months, and almost enough in the others. I was the oldest. Melissa. Responsible before I had the vocabulary for it. I packed lunches when Mom had early shifts. I checked Emma's homework. I reminded Dad when bills were due. I learned how to stretch groceries, fill out forms, compare prices, and keep birthday surprises inexpensive but convincing. Emma was 6 years younger and born with the ability to make adults bend toward her. She had blonde curls, blue eyes, a tiny dimple, and the kind of dramatic sincerity that made every want feel like a need. When Emma wanted ballet lessons, Mom picked up extra Saturday hours. When Emma wanted a prom dress beyond our budget, Dad sold his old fishing rods. When Emma wanted senior photos in 3 locations with professional makeup, I paid for the makeup as her graduation gift because she cried and said everyone else's parents were doing it. That was the first time I remember giving beyond what was comfortable because Emma's disappointment felt unbearable. Not to her, to the room. Emma's sadness filled a room until someone paid to let air back in. My symbolic object in this story was a tiny pearl hairpin. It belonged to our grandmother, Ruth Grant, who wore it in her hair on her wedding day in 1958. It was not valuable in the resale sense. One small pearl, slightly yellowed, set on a silver pin with a bent prong. Grandma kept it in a velvet box and told us both, "Pretty things are not the same as precious things. Learn the difference." Emma loved the word pretty. I loved the word precious. When Grandma died, she left the pearl hairpin to me in a note written on yellow stationery. For Melissa, because she keeps what matters safe. Emma cried for 2 days. Not because she had known Grandma better, she had not, but because in her mind anything bridal looking should naturally belong to her eventually. Mom asked if I might let Emma wear it one day when the time came. I said yes. That yes became another thing everyone quietly assumed meant ownership. I worked hard because work made sense. After community college, I became a claims coordinator at an insurance firm. Not glamorous, not dramatic, steady. I learned policies, deductibles, proof requirements, claim timelines, and the holy importance of reading before signing. By 29, I was a senior account specialist. By 33, I had a small townhouse, a reliable car, savings, and a reputation in my family as the person who could figure things out. That phrase sounds like praise until people start bringing you problems they created on purpose. Emma's life was more colorful. She studied marketing for 2 years, switched to hospitality, left school, worked at a boutique hotel, launched a small event styling page, quit after a manager criticized her punctuality, became a social media coordinator for a wedding planner, then declared herself wedding adjacent and began talking about aesthetics like they were moral positions. When she met Tyler Whitmore, everything intensified. Tyler was 31, handsome, polite, and came from a family whose money had been inherited long enough to sound like tradition. His father owned commercial real estate. His mother, Caroline, chaired charity galas and had the kind of voice that made a question sound like a placement test. Tyler himself worked in private wealth management, which seemed almost too on the nose. Emma met him at a hotel event where she was assisting with floral placement. By their 3rd date, she had bought new dresses. By their 3rd month, she was saying "our circles." By 6 months, she was correcting how Mom pronounced hors d'oeuvre. Tyler was not cruel to me directly at first. He was worse in a quieter way. He was courteous while looking through me. He shook my hand when we met, asked what I did, then said, "Insurance. Very stable," and moved on to talk to Dad about interest rates. He smiled whenever Emma told stories about her childhood, but I noticed she edited out the parts where we were broke, late, tired, or practical. She was becoming a person with no receipts. The engagement happened at the Biltmore Estate Garden in September, with a photographer hidden behind hedges and Emma wearing a cream dress she had clearly purchased for the proposal she claimed was a surprise. The ring was an oval diamond on a thin band. She posted 14 photos in 2 hours. The caption read, "I said yes to forever with the love of my life and the family I always dreamed of joining. The family I always dreamed of joining." I read that line 3 times. Mom called me crying happy tears. "Did you see?" "I saw." "Isn't it beautiful?" "Yes." "She wants you to be maid of honor." I smiled despite myself. "She told you that?" "She said of course. Who else?" Who else? That phrase warmed me because, even with all her performance, Emma was still my sister. I had braided her hair for school. I had picked her up from parties. I had held her when her first boyfriend cheated. I had paid her application fee when she wanted a second chance at school. I had always been the person standing slightly behind her with safety pins, tissues, and a backup plan. So when she asked me officially over brunch, handing me a little box with a card that said, "Mel, I can't do this without you," I cried. I wish I had known then that she meant it literally. The wedding planning began with excitement and became financial emergency within 4 weeks. Emma wanted elegance. Caroline wanted pedigree. Tyler wanted everyone happy, but mostly his mother. Our parents wanted to help, but had no idea how expensive the world Emma was entering had become. The first planning meeting was at Caroline Whitmore's home, a stone house with a circular driveway, 2 staircases, and a powder room large enough to make me question my own life choices. Caroline served cucumber sandwiches on china and spoke about setting the tone. She said, "The wedding should feel refined, not flashy, refined." Emma nodded like she was being ordained. Mom sat beside me in her best navy dress, clutching her purse in her lap. Caroline mentioned the Whitmore family church, the country club reception, a string quartet, seasonal florals, plated dinner, and photography that understands old families. Then she smiled at my parents. Of course, traditionally, the bride's family takes the lead on certain elements, but we are happy to coordinate. Coordinate. Not pay. Coordinate. My father's face tightened almost imperceptibly. Mom smiled too brightly. "We want Emma to have a beautiful day." Emma looked at me. "Not obviously." Just quickly. That quick look became the beginning of many payments. After the meeting in the parking area, Mom whispered, "We can't do this." Dad looked humiliated. Emma started crying. "Tyler's mom already thinks we're tacky." I said, "She didn't say that." Emma looked at me with wet eyes. "She didn't have to." I wish I could say I set a boundary then. I did not. I said, "Let's look at numbers before panicking." Numbers are where reality usually begins. Reality did not improve. The country club deposit was $12,000. Florist retainer, $4, $500. Photographer, $6, $200. Dress budget, supposedly $3,000, which became almost $9,000 the moment Emma tried on silk. Venue minimums. Catering tiers. Stationery. Hair. Makeup. Welcome dinner. Bridesmaid luncheon. Transportation. Cake. Tips. Taxes. Service fees hiding like snakes under every quote. My parents could contribute $15,000 total, and even that meant dipping into savings they needed for medical expenses and roof repairs. Emma had $4,000 saved. Tyler's family offered to cover the rehearsal dinner, bar upgrade, and select enhancements, which meant expensive things they could take credit for while leaving structural costs to the bride's side. Emma called me one night at 11:40. "I can't breathe." I sat up in bed. "What happened?" "The venue deposit is due Friday, and Mom says they can't cover it until next month." "Then move the date." "We can't. Caroline already told people." "Then choose another venue." "She'll know." "She'll know what?" "That we're not like them." I rubbed my forehead. "Emma, you don't understand. Tyler's family has expectations, and your family has limits." She cried harder. "Please, Mel, just help me with the deposit. I'll pay you back after the wedding. Tyler and I will get money gifts. I just need time." There it was. I just need time. Family's favorite opening line before your bank account becomes a bridge. I told her I would think about it. Then Mom called the next morning. Not to ask. To ache out loud. "Your sister is devastated." "I know. We feel terrible." "I know. We always wanted to give you girls beautiful weddings." I stared at my coffee. I didn't have one. There was a pause. My engagement had ended at 31 after I found out my fiancé had been using my credit card for online gambling. I had quietly canceled the venue, returned the dress, and paid the cancellation fees myself because I was too embarrassed to tell everyone the truth. Emma knew. Mom knew. No one liked to mention it because my pain had not produced pretty photos. Mom said softly, "I know, honey." I did not say what I was thinking. You wanted one for Emma. Instead, I said, "I can cover the venue deposit if it stays in my name until repaid." Mom hesitated. Would that be awkward? No, that would be documented. I paid the venue deposit, $12,000. The contract listed me as the responsible paying party for the deposit, with Emma and Tyler as event hosts. I insisted on that because insurance taught me one thing. If your money enters a situation without your name attached, people will later call it a gift. Emma cried with relief. You saved my life. No, I paid a deposit. You always make things sound so transactional. That is because transactions are transactional. She laughed then. I thought we understood each other. We did not. The dress came next. We went to Lily and Grace Bridal on a Saturday morning. Mom came. Caroline came. Tyler's sister Alexandra came. 2 bridesmaids came. I came with a notebook and a spending limit Emma had sworn she would respect. The salon smelled like perfume, champagne, and expensive fabric. Consultants moved like swans. Dresses hung in private rooms. Emma glowed under the attention. At first, she tried dresses around $3,000. They were beautiful. Truly. Lace sleeves, satin bodices, soft tulle. Any one of them would have made her look like a bride. Then Caroline said, "That one is sweet, but perhaps not quite elevated enough for the club." Elevated. A dangerous word. The consultant brought out the silk gown. Emma stepped onto the platform, and the room changed. The dress was stunning. I will not lie. Clean lines, delicate lace, tiny pearl buttons, graceful train. It made Emma look older, softer, almost timeless. Mom cried. Emma cried. Even Carolyn looked satisfied. Then, the consultant said the price. $8, $460 before alterations. I looked at Emma. She looked at me in the mirror. Not at Mom. Not at Caroline. Me. Mel, she whispered when the consultant stepped away, I can't wear anything else now. I said, yes, you can. No, I can't. You saw Caroline's face. Emma, Caroline is not marrying the dress. She's judging the family. I looked at Mom. Mom looked away. That was when I knew I had been brought as the emergency funding plan. Not consciously, maybe, but functionally. Emma held my hand in the dressing room and cried so hard her foundation marked the tissue. Please, I'll pay you back. I promise. I just want one day where I don't feel like the poor girl pretending. The poor girl pretending. That sentence reached the old part of me, the part that remembered Emma at 12 crying because classmates mocked her thrift store coat. The part that remembered sewing ribbon on her backpack so it looked new. The part that had spent years shielding her from the sting of not having enough. I paid. Directly. With my card. Under my name. The consultant congratulated Emma. The receipt went into my wallet. The pearl hairpin came up during accessories. Emma wanted to wear it. I said yes, but I kept it in my possession until the wedding day. Caroline saw it and said, how charming. A little family piece. A little. Grandma's voice moved through me. Pretty things are not the same as precious things. I should have listened sooner. After the dress, the requests multiplied. Not all huge. That was what made them dangerous. The florist needed an extra retainer because Emma upgraded to garden roses. $1, $800. The photographer required the second installment earlier than expected. $2, $500. The calligrapher needed rush fees because Emma changed the invitation wording after Caroline said, together with their families sounded too ordinary. $640. The hair and makeup deposit. $900. A bridal luncheon reservation Caroline assumed the bride's side would host. $1, $200. Each time, Emma promised repayment. Each time, I said, "This is the last one." Each time, she cried, or panicked, or said Tyler's mother would find out. By May, I had paid or fronted $28, $600. That number makes me angry even now. Not because I could not survive it. I could. I had savings. I had good credit. I had no children. I had a townhouse with a manageable mortgage and a job that paid well enough if I continued living carefully. That was the excuse everyone used without saying it. Melissa can afford it. Melissa is stable. Melissa is single. Melissa doesn't have a wedding, a husband, a baby, a future like Emma. People rarely say those thoughts out loud. They simply spend accordingly. The first warning that Emma was erasing me came with the invitations. I noticed my name was missing from the wedding website, not entirely. I was listed under bridal party as Melissa Grant, sister of the bride. But under the section titled Our Story, Emma wrote, "We are so grateful to our parents, Harold and Denise Grant, and Richard and Caroline Whitmore, whose love and support made this beautiful beginning possible." No mention of me. Fine, I told myself. It was not about recognition. Then Caroline hosted a bridal tea and introduced me to her friends as Emma's sister, Melissa. She's helping with the practical details. Practical details. Like 5-figure deposits. At the tea, one woman asked if I was married. When I said no, Caroline gave a small, sympathetic smile and said, "Melissa has been wonderfully available." Available. I went home and opened my spreadsheet. Yes, I had a spreadsheet. Payment date, vendor, amount, contract name, reimbursement promised, notes, corresponding text screenshots. At the bottom, the total glowed like a warning. $28, $600. I emailed Emma that night. "We need to schedule repayments after the wedding. I'm attaching the current total and the payment list. We can make a reasonable plan, but I need it acknowledged." She did not reply for 2 days. Then she called, cheerful. "Hey, sorry, crazy week. Can we not talk about money right now? It stresses me out." "It stresses me too." "Mel." "No, I need acknowledgement." She sighed. "I know I owe you. Why do you need me to say it like I'm signing a confession?" "Because you keep acting like not talking about it makes it less real." She went quiet. Then, coldly, "Sometimes you make generosity feel ugly." That sentence hurt because it was designed to. I said, "Sometimes you make generosity necessary by ignoring math." She hung up. The second warning came from Tyler. He called me directly one afternoon while I was at work. That was unusual. "Melissa," he said, polite as always, "I wanted to check in about some family dynamics." I already hated the sentence. What dynamics? "Emma has been under a lot of pressure. My mother senses some tension between you two." "Your mother senses many things." He paused. "Yes, well, Emma mentioned money conversations have become stressful." "Money conversations are stressful when money is owed." Another pause. "I understand you've helped. That's very kind." Kind. Small word for large payments, he continued. "I just wonder if maybe now is not the time to burden her with repayment details. We're entering a new phase of life, and I want Emma focused on joy." I looked at the claims file on my desk and pressed my pen so hard against the paper it nearly tore. Tyler, the venue deposit, dress, florist retainer, and several vendor payments are under my name. "I understand." "No, I don't think you do. If Emma wants joy, she should stop spending from my account without wanting accountability attached." His voice cooled. That feels harsh. It is accurate. Maybe this is why Emma feels judged. I almost laughed. "Tyler, your family has been judging us since the cucumber sandwiches." He had no answer. After that call, I stopped making new payments. Immediately. Emma noticed within a week. The makeup artist messaged her about a pending balance. The photographer sent a reminder. The stationery vendor asked for final approval with payments. Emma forwarded one to me with 3 question marks. I replied, "I'm not making additional payments until we discuss repayment and contract responsibility." She wrote back, "Are you serious right now?" "Yes." The third warning came 2 weeks before the wedding. Emma asked for the pearl hairpin. Not on the wedding day. Now, I want the stylist to practice with it. Come to my house and we can do a trial. She hesitated. Caroline thinks it should be kept with the wedding accessories. It is my grandmother's hairpin. Our grandmother. Left to me. Her voice changed. Are you really going to be weird about a hairpin? Yes. Unbelievable. Emma, you can wear it on the wedding day. It stays with me until then. She hung up again. That night, Mom called. Melissa, your sister is crying. About the hairpin or the unpaid invoices? Mom sighed. Can you please just let this wedding be peaceful? I sat at my kitchen table, looking at the spreadsheet. Mom, peace cannot keep meaning I pay and shut up. She was quiet. Then she said, your father and I feel terrible that we can't do more. I know. We never asked you to cover all this. No, I said. You just watched. That silence lasted a long time. Finally, Mom whispered, you're right. That surprised me. Not enough to fix anything, but enough to keep me from crying. The uninvitation came 8 days before the wedding. At Kroger, frozen food aisle. I think it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding. Tyler's family is very traditional. Seating is complicated. Your energy. I drove home without groceries. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. For 10 minutes, I did nothing. I just looked at the spreadsheet. $28, $600. Then I opened the vendor contracts. First, Lillian Grace Bridal. The gown had been paid in full by me. Alterations were scheduled for final fitting and pickup 2 days before the wedding. The purchase agreement stated that the purchaser controlled release unless written transfer authorization was provided. Emma had done that because she did not want Tyler seeing the charge. She had signed as bride. I had signed as purchaser. Second, the venue. Deposit paid by me. Non-refundable but applicable only if final payment cleared by the deadline. Contract listed me as deposit payer and responsible party for deposit authorization. Emma and Tyler were listed as event contacts. Third, florist. Retainer paid by me, remaining balance unpaid. Cancellation before 72 hours meant retainer forfeited, but no final floral production. Fourth, photographer. Deposit and second installment paid by me, final balance due. Contract allowed cancellation or transfer only by paying party approval. I sat back. I did not need to destroy the wedding. That mattered. I did not want to punish vendors, embarrass guests, or cause chaos for the sake of it. I wanted one thing. I wanted my name, my money, and my liability removed from an event I had been uninvited from. So I emailed each vendor. Not emotional, not dramatic, clean. Due to a change in attendance and my removal from the event by the bride, I am no longer authorizing further payments, charges, releases, or contractual responsibility under my name. Please confirm cancellation, transfer requirements, or balance needed to move responsibility to Emma Grant and Tyler Whitmore directly. I attached copies of Emma's text. Then I called my credit card company and blocked merchant charges from the pending wedding vendors unless verbally authorized. Then I texted Emma. Since I am no longer invited, I am removing myself from all vendor contracts and stopping all pending payments under my name. Vendors will contact you and Tyler directly for transfer or final balances. I watched the message deliver. No response for 12 minutes. Then my phone rang. Emma. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Emma again. Then Tyler. Then Dad. Then Emma sent a voice memo. I did not open it. I made tea. At 8:41, Tyler texted, Melissa, this is unnecessary and vindictive. We should discuss calmly. I replied, I agree. Please discuss with the vendors whose contracts now need to be transferred. He wrote, you're going to ruin the wedding over hurt feelings? I replied, I'm ending my financial responsibility for a wedding I am not allowed to attend. He did not answer. At 9:05, Emma sent a text in all caps. You canceled my dress? I had not canceled it. I had contacted the salon and revoked release authorization until the purchaser issue was resolved. There is a difference, but panic rarely reads terms. I replied, I removed myself as purchaser. You can pay me back or pay the salon directly under a transferred agreement. She wrote, I don't have $8,460. I stared at that sentence. There it was. The truth, finally undressed. No money, no plan, no repayment, just expectation. I replied, I know. I need to pause here for a second. If you have ever helped someone so much that they forgot it was help and started treating it like entitlement, you know exactly what that moment felt like. It was not about a dress. It was about being erased from an event your money was holding together. If this story is hitting close to home, leave a comment and tell me what moment made you stop financing your own disrespect. And if you have not already, subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. The quiet part is over. The explosion began the next morning. Mom came to my house at 7:32 with wet hair, no makeup, and a face that looked 10 years older than it had the week before. I opened the door. She said, "What happened?" "Emma uninvited me." "I know that part." "Then you know what happened." She stepped inside. "Melissa, she was wrong." "Yes." "But canceling payments a week before the wedding." "I canceled my responsibility." Mom closed her eyes. "Please?" "No." "She is hysterical. She should call Caroline." Mom looked stricken. "That family will think we're frauds." I looked at her. "We are, if we let them believe we paid for things we didn't." Mom sat on my sofa. My living room was quiet, simple, and mine. A gray couch. Bookshelves. A framed print from a mountain trip I took alone. No silk dress. No floral invoices. No Whitmore expectations. "She didn't mean it," Mom said. "She meant to uninvite me." "She was pressured. She chose." Mom's eyes filled. "You two are sisters." "Yes, that is why this is disgusting." She flinched. I sat across from her. "Mom, did you know she was considering uninviting me?" She looked down. That was the answer. My chest tightened. "How long?" She mentioned Caroline thought the wedding party should look more cohesive. I laughed once. Cohesive. I told her not to be cruel. "But you didn't warn me." "I thought she'd come to her senses." "No," I said. "You hoped I'd stay useful long enough for it not to matter." Mom cried then. For once, I did not move to comfort her immediately. She said, "I am sorry." "For what specifically?" She looked up. "For letting you carry money we should have stopped her from asking for. For knowing you were being pushed out and not telling you. For wanting the wedding to happen so badly that I ignored what it was costing you." That apology was imperfect, but specific. I nodded. "Thank you." "What do we do?" "Emma and Tyler either pay what they owe, transfer contracts, or adjust the wedding to what they can afford." Mom looked terrified. "Caroline will be furious." "Then Caroline can pay." The thought seemed to stun her. People like us sometimes forget wealthy people are allowed to contribute to the standards they impose. By noon, Caroline Whitmore called me. I almost admired her speed. Her voice was smooth and sharp. "Melissa, I believe there has been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." "Emma is very emotional right now." "Yes." "Weddings are stressful. Young brides sometimes say things. Adult women also send texts." Silence. Then, cooler. "The vendors have contacted us about certain payment disruptions." "Yes." "I find it concerning that you would use money to control your sister's wedding." I sat back. "Mrs. Whitmore, your family used class pressure to control my sister's guest list. I am simply removing my name from invoices attached to a wedding I was told not to attend." She inhaled. "That is a very dramatic framing." "It is a very accurate one." She changed tactics. "Surely you want what is best for Emma." "I do." "And causing embarrassment days before her wedding is best?" "No honesty months before her wedding would have been best. We are past that." Caroline's voice hardened. "What exactly do you want?" "Repayment or contract transfer?" "That is between you and Emma." "No. You are the one whose expectations raised the cost. Tyler is the groom. Emma is the bride. I am not the bride's bank." She did not speak for several seconds. Then she said, "You understand this may affect your relationship with your sister forever." I looked at the pearl hairpin box on my bookshelf. "Yes," I said. "She made that clear when she uninvited me from the wedding I paid for." I hung up first. That felt wonderful. The vendors behaved professionally. The venue said the deposit would remain applied. only if final payment arrived from the couple or new responsible party by Friday. Otherwise, the event could be canceled with loss of deposit. The florist paused final floral production pending payment transfer. The photographer agreed to transfer the contract if Tyler signed and paid the final balance. The bridal salon became the central crisis. Emma could not take the dress without purchaser authorization, final alteration balance, and pickup signature. I did not want the dress. I did not want to hold it hostage for sport. I wanted repayment or release from responsibility, so I offered terms through email, copying Emma, Tyler, Mom, Dad, and Caroline. Option 1. Emma repays the dress amount in full by cashier's check, and I authorize release. Option 2. Emma signs a formal repayment agreement with first payment due before release. Tyler cosigns, and Carolyn or Tyler assumes any alteration balance. Option 3. The salon keeps the dress under its policy, and I pursue repayment separately. Emma called me crying. I answered once. "Mel, please?" I stood in my kitchen. "No, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you uninvited me." I was under pressure. "So was I when you asked for $28, $600. She sobbed. "You're punishing me. I'm documenting you. That's worse. Only if you planned to lie." She went quiet, then she whispered, "Caroline said your vibe was wrong for the wedding." I closed my eyes. "My vibe?" "She said you made people uncomfortable." "Because I asked about bills?" "Because you're intense." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Emma, I am intense because I am the only person in this story who understands invoices." She cried harder. "I don't know what to do." "Tell Tyler the truth." "He knows some." "How much?" Silence. "How much, Emma?" "He knows you helped." "Does he know the amount?" "No." "Then start there." She said, "He'll be furious." I looked at the spreadsheet. He should be informed. "No, Mel. At me." There it was. For the first time, Emma understood that my silence had protected her, not me. I said, "Yes." She hung up. The truth reached Tyler that night. How do I know? Because at 10:37, he sent me a message. I was not aware of the full amount. I need documentation. Finally. A sentence I could work with. I sent the spreadsheet, receipts, vendor contracts, card statements with unrelated transactions redacted, and Emma's repayment promises. I sent everything in one PDF labeled Wedding Payments, Melissa Grant. He replied an hour later. "Thank you. I need to speak with Emma." The next day was quiet. Too quiet. Then Tyler called. His voice was different, less polished. "Melissa, I owe you an apology." I waited. "I thought you were creating conflict because Emma said you were stressed and judgmental about the wedding." "I was judgmental about unpaid bills." "I see that now." "Good." "I did not know you paid the venue deposit." "Yes." "Or the dress." "Yes." "Or the florist, photographer, calligraphy, luncheon." "You read the PDF." "I did." He exhaled. "My mother did not know either." That surprised me. "What did Emma tell her?" "That your parents were covering most things, and you were helping with coordination." I closed my eyes. Coordination. The cousin of practical details. Tyler continued. "I also did not know you were uninvited until after the fact. Emma told me you had decided not to attend because of tension." I sat down slowly. That one hurt differently. "She lied." "Yes." He sounded stunned by the word, as if wealthy people expected lies to wear better clothes. "I am sorry," he said. "Thank you. I'm going to assume responsibility for the vendor balances." "That is appropriate. As for what Emma owes you, I would like to arrange repayment. That is between Emma and me, unless you co-sign." "I will not co-sign her personal debt without discussing it legally." That was the first intelligent thing a Whitmore man had said to me. "Fine." He paused. "Would you still attend if invited?" I looked toward the pearl hairpin box again. "No." He was silent. "I understand." "I don't think you do," I said. "But maybe one day." The wedding did not happen as originally planned. Not canceled entirely, changed. The country club remained because Tyler and Caroline paid the final venue balance rather than lose face. The florist reduced the order after Tyler refused to pay for upgrades Emma had hidden. The photographer contract transferred. The bridal luncheon was canceled. The calligrapher was unpaid for the extra rush work until Caroline covered it with visible irritation. The dress was resolved through a written agreement. Emma signed a promissory note for the dress amount, with monthly payments beginning 60 days after the wedding. Tyler did not co-sign. Caroline paid the alteration balance directly to the salon. I authorized dress release only after Emma signed. She picked it up without me. I did not give her the pearl hairpin. That became the final battle. Mom called 2 days before the wedding. "Melissa, Emma is asking about Grandma's pin." "No." "She says it's her something old." "No." She signed the repayment note. That gave her the dress, not my heirloom. Mom sighed. "Honey, she's devastated." "Good. She's finally experiencing a proportionate emotion." "Melissa." "Mom, she uninvited me, lied about it. Hid almost $30,000 in payments. Let Tyler's family think we were something we're not. She does not get Grandma's pin as a costume piece." Mom was quiet. Then softly, "You're right." That was becoming less shocking. Maybe crisis was making her honest. The wedding day arrived bright and warm. I was not there. At first, that hurt. I will not pretend otherwise. I woke that morning at 6 with a heaviness in my chest. My sister was getting married without me. The little girl whose hair I braided, whose prom dress I steamed, whose rent I once quietly paid, whose dream wedding I had nearly bankrolled, would walk down an aisle and I would not see it. I made coffee. I walked to my bookshelf and opened the velvet box holding Grandma's hairpin. The pearl looked small in the morning light. Pretty things are not the same as precious things. I pinned it to the collar of my blue blouse. Then I drove to the farmer's market. I bought peaches, basil, fresh bread, and a bouquet of sunflowers. I sat outside a cafe and ate a croissant by myself, which felt less sad than I expected. My phone buzzed throughout the morning. Photos from relatives, not from Emma. The dress looked beautiful. She looked beautiful. Weddings have a way of photographing well, even when built on unpaid truth. At 11:40, Tyler sent one message. "The ceremony happened. I'm sorry you were not treated honorably." I did not reply. At 4:20, Mom sent a photo of Emma and Dad dancing. I looked at it for a long time. Then I put the phone face down and made dinner. The public reveal happened at the reception, though I learned the details later. Caroline had apparently made a toast praising two families coming together with grace, generosity, and shared values. She mentioned the beauty of tradition, the dignity of preparation, and the way weddings reveal character, a dangerous speech, given the circumstances. Tyler, to his credit, followed with his own toast. According to my cousin Dana, who called me from the parking lot afterward, Tyler stood up and said, "I also want to acknowledge that weddings do not happen by magic." There were people who contributed quietly and substantially, including Emma's sister Melissa, who is not here today, but whose generosity helped make this day possible. I regret that she was not honored appropriately. The room reportedly went silent. Caroline looked like someone had spilled red wine on a white sofa. Emma cried. Not pretty tears, real ones. Good. I do not know whether Tyler said it out of guilt, anger, integrity, or self-preservation. I only know he said it publicly. Sometimes that is enough. Dana said, "I thought Caroline was going to swallow her pearls." I laughed for the first time all day. The fallout after the wedding was not immediate reconciliation. Emma left for her honeymoon in Bermuda and posted carefully cropped photos. Beach. Ring. Champagne. Sunset. No mention of me, of course. Tyler looked reserved in every photo. Maybe that was his face. Maybe the marriage had begun with a ledger between them. The first repayment came 30 days late. I received $500 by bank transfer with the note, "Dress repayment." No apology, just money. I accepted it. The second payment arrived on time. The third was short. I emailed her the agreement. She paid the difference 2 days later. This became our relationship for a while. Not sisters. Creditor and debtor. That sounds harsh because it was. But it was also cleaner than the fantasy we had been living in. 3 months after the wedding, Emma asked to meet. I almost said no. Then I chose a coffee shop halfway between our homes because neutral ground exists for a reason. I arrived early, ordered tea, and sat near the window. Emma came in wearing jeans, a white sweater, and no wedding glow. She looked thinner, tired, less polished. She sat across from me. Hi. Hi. She looked at my hands. I was wearing Grandma's pearl hairpin on my cardigan. Her eyes filled immediately. I deserved that. Yes, I said. She nodded. I don't know how to apologize enough. Start specifically. She swallowed. I'm sorry I asked you for money I couldn't repay. I waited. I'm sorry I let you become the backup plan for every wedding crisis. I waited. I'm sorry I lied to Tyler about how much you paid. Good. I'm sorry I told him you chose not to come. Better. I'm sorry I uninvited you because Caroline made me feel ashamed of where I came from. I looked at her. And of me. Her mouth trembled. Yes, of you, because you reminded me of the truth. There it was, the first sentence that mattered. Emma wiped her face. I wanted to look like I belonged with them. At whose expense? Yours. I nodded. She continued. Tyler and I started counseling. That surprised me. Already? She gave a sad laugh. Turns out beginning a marriage with hidden debt and family lies creates trust issues. Imagine. She deserved that. She accepted it. Caroline is furious with me. Good. And with you. Also fine. Tyler is different now. In what way? He asks for documents. I almost smiled. Smart man. I hate it. I'm sure. She looked down. I miss you. That one hit a softer place. I looked out the window at cars moving through the rain. I miss who I thought we were. She cried quietly. Not performatively. Quietly. I don't know if I can fix it. You can repay the money. You can stop lying. You can stop making shame expensive for other people. That would be a start. She nodded. And us? I looked back at her. Us will take longer than the dress. She accepted that. That was new. Over the next year, Emma repaid me. Not fast, not perfectly, but consistently after that coffee meeting. Tyler handled some payments indirectly by reducing their household spending, but the transfers came from Emma's account because I insisted. She needed to feel the payment leave her own life, not because I wanted her punished, but because consequences paid by someone else become another form of rescue. Caroline never apologized. She did, however, stop referring to me as practical details after Tyler corrected her at a Christmas brunch. I was not there, but Mom reported it with restrained delight. Apparently, Caroline said, Melissa always was very involved in the logistics. Tyler said, Melissa financed what we failed to understand. Silence. Mom said she nearly dropped her fork. I sent Tyler a text later. Thank you for saying that. He replied, it was overdue. Emma and Tyler stayed married. I know some people will find that unsatisfying, but not every story ends with divorce papers or dramatic annulments. Sometimes the reckoning happens inside the marriage that survives the truth. Emma had to become someone Tyler could trust. Tyler had to become someone willing to see the class performance his family demanded. Caroline had to endure a daughter-in-law whose sister had receipts. That was enough for me. My relationship with Mom changed too. She stopped calling me only when Emma was crying. She began asking how I was before telling me what someone needed. She apologized again one afternoon while helping me plant herbs on my townhouse patio. I made you the second parent, she said. I looked up from the basil pot. Yes. I told myself it was because you were capable. That was the compliment version. She nodded. The truth is that I was relieved you could carry what I didn't know how to manage. That was accurate. I wiped soil from my hands. Thank you for saying it. Do you forgive me? I thought about it. For some things, not all. She nodded. That's fair. Fair. A word that had been missing from our family for too long. As for the pearl hairpin, Emma did not wear it at her wedding. I wore it once a month for a year, not out of spite, out of reclamation. Then, on Emma's first anniversary, she came to my townhouse with the final repayment, a cashier's check for the remaining balance. She handed it to me with both hands. I'm done, she said. With the payments? with pretending expensive things make me safe. I studied her. She meant it as much as she could. I deposited the check the next morning. That weekend, I invited Emma over for dinner. Not a celebration. Not a forgiveness ceremony. Just soup, bread, salad, and the kind of conversation sisters have when they are trying to learn each other honestly instead of through childhood roles. After dinner, I took out the velvet box. Emma froze. I opened it. The pearl hairpin lay inside. "I am not giving it to you," I said. She nodded quickly. "I understand. But if you ever have a daughter, and if she wants to wear it someday, we'll talk." Emma began crying. Not because she got what she wanted. Because she did not. And because I had left a door open without handing her the key. That is harder than it sounds. I still have the spreadsheet. It is market paid. I keep it in a folder with the vendor receipts, the uninvitation text, the promissory note, and a photo Dana sent me of Tyler giving that reception toast. Some people might call that holding on. I call it remembering the full invoice. Not just the money. The cost. My sister made me pay for her wedding dress. Then she uninvited me from the wedding. She thought I would be too embarrassed, too loyal, too trained by family to stop the payments. She thought I would swallow the insult so her photographs could stay elegant. She thought my love meant unlimited credit. She was wrong. Love can help buy a dress. But dignity decides whether the dress leaves the salon. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I know some of you have funded dreams, saved events, covered emergencies, paid deposits, and stayed quiet while others took the credit. If Melissa's story reached you, I hope you remember that generosity does not mean disappearing from the room. Your name on a contract matters. Your money matters. Your presence matters. And anyone willing to uninvite you from something you helped build should be prepared to fund it without you. Subscribe to Ultimate Revenge for more stories about quiet women, family betrayal, silent comebacks, and the receipts that finally reach the vendor. So tell me, if your sister made you pay for her dream wedding and then uninvited you to impress a wealthy family, would you show up anyway? Or would you cancel every payment made under your name and let the invoices speak?